Welcome to Andy or Prisma. Andy or Prisma, left, middle or right, place your bets now. Andy or Prisma. It's me, I'm in the middle. Hey up troops, it's A Littleton here again with another video. And this time, we're going to be looking at Alibi. Don't worry about the Prismas, they're staying put. Alibi is a really solid 3-speed roamer with an absolute laser beam of a main submachine gun, the MX4, which we'll get into detail in very shortly. Everybody from Copper to Champion gets fooled by a gadget at times, and sometimes it's impossible not to shoot when it's right in front of a window. The theme of this video is exactly the same as the other operator guides we've done. However, when it comes to the counters of Alibi, I've left 2 counters out. There's 2 operators which also counter Alibi in amongst the ones that I'm going to mention in this video. I didn't mention them in the video. See if you can name them in the comments. We'll have a bit of a quiz. There's 2 main operators that I can think of that can counter Alibi in terms of what their gadget does. If you can think of them, get them in the comments and I'll tell you if it's the 2 that I'm thinking of as well. Right, that's enough messing about. Let's get stuck into it. Right then, let's get started with Alibi's loadout then. So the first thing I'm going to talk about when it comes to loadout is actually not loadout, it's appearance. In my opinion, if you want the best out of playing Alibi, I would use the default headgear and default uniform. So firstly, swap that over to there. The reason we do that is because the Prisma only replicates the default skin. So if you want to try and confuse people a little bit further, if you're not using the default skin, obviously that won't work. You don't have to. If you're feeling a bit fruity, you can go mad and use whatever you like. But for me, I generally use the default skin so it matches the Prisma. Moving then on to actual loadout and weapons then, Alibi gets access to the MX4 Storm, the ACS-12, a Keratos, a Bailey for impacts, and a shield. A pretty good loadout across the board. When it comes to main weapon, the MX4 is one of the best guns on defense at the moment. The fire rate is insanely high. The recoil is easily controllable if you use a vert and a flash. The recoil is slightly higher than most other guns on defense. However, it's easily usable. I liken it a little bit to Twitch's F2, probably a little bit less than Twitch's F2, but as long as you pull down or you pull down with the mouse or analog stick, then you're going to be okay. The ACS-12 is an interesting one because it's essentially a DMR, right? It's a shotgun, but it fires slugs. As you can see here, it's fully automatic, so just literally hold down mouse 1 or hold down right trigger, and away it goes. It's a decent gun. It does a lot of damage. It can have some decent magnification when it comes to scopes, up to a 2x. I like what's strange for me is I like the TCSG with Cade, but I don't usually use the ACS-12 with Maestro or Alibi. However, I think that's probably because when you've got an MX4 Storm as the other option with a 1.5, it's a headshot machine. It's so good. It's a little bit like what the Roni used to be as well, in my opinion, on a defensive gun. When the Roni had the 1.5 and the recoil wasn't as high as it was, it's a little bit like that. It's a headshot machine. When it comes to a sidearm, or a secondary, you've got the Keratos and the Bailey. I always use the Bailey because you can make rotates with it. You can make lines of sight with the Keratos like you can with Wamai. However, the Bailey, you can make full rotates, and there's no reason, in my opinion, not to take the Bailey. Obviously, the Keratos would be good if you have to swap to your secondary, and you need to take a fight. Then the Keratos is going to be better, but that doesn't happen that often. And if it does happen, pray the Bailiff works. The gadgets, you got impacts and a shield. I always take the shield because if I need to make rotates or open lines of sight or open hatches, I can do that with the Bailiff. I don't need to take impacts to do that. Rotates do take a little bit longer with the Bailiff than most shotguns. However, it means then you've got a shield, which is one of the strongest gadgets or secondary bits of utility on defense. Generally, the Alibi won't play the shield. You can put it somewhere for another anchor to play. Or, of course, you can play the shield and put a Prisma behind the shield, which is an absolute classic. But yeah, for me, I generally always use the Bailiff and shield instead of the Keratos or Impact. Nothing wrong with the ACS-12, but for me, MX4 Storm, Bailiff, and deployable shield. Right then, let's get stuck into Alibi's gadget/utility. Alibi gets access to this thing, which is a football sort of shaped pentagon 3D shape. I don't know what that 3D pentagon's called. If you know what that's called, let me know in the comments, because I certainly don't know what that is. But if you chuck it on the floor or any flat surface, you get access, or it deploys this thing, the Alibi Prisma. This is here to distract and confuse attackers, and we'll get into what happens if the attackers do get distracted and confused in just a second. But in terms of the physics of deploying it, you can pick it back up if you throw it down. But when it comes to deploying, you've got to make sure that the Prisma has enough space to deploy. And that includes not just the base, but that includes where the gun's going to go as well. So you'll see, when we throw it down on the floor, if I throw it right next to this wall... That's a really bad example. If I throw it right next to this one... Let's just pretend that didn't happen, yeah? Just ignore that. If I throw it close enough to this wall, you'll see that it can't deploy. It'll start flashing at you. You can pick it back up and redeploy it somewhere else. One of the things you've got to remember is there's got to be enough space for the gun on the other side as well, not just the base. So, when it comes to deploying, When you throw it on the floor, you'll see that it gets deployed at a 45-degree angle almost from exactly where you're standing. So it's 45 degrees in front of me, and now the prisma is staring at the same place I was looking at when I threw the prisma down. If I want to get a prisma that's looking out of this window, if I threw it at this angle, the prisma is going to be looking at this angle, right? If I want it looking out the window or looking on a slight angle this way, I've got to throw it here. The prisma is then going to be looking at the exact angle that I was looking at when I threw it. And it's so if you want to confuse somebody in this window, let's pretend this window isn't here just for now. If you want to play a prisma in this window, you'd throw it here, looking directly at the window, and you got your 45 degrees there, obviously. What you wouldn't do is go like this. And now the prisma's not staring at the window, and it's less of a threat if someone peeks that window. You can pretty much tell that there's not going to be an alibi staring like this. So, when you're deploying the alibi, make sure you're facing the direction that you want the prisma to face as well. That's a key thing to remember. Just a quick one on the physics. I'm just going to put a prisma here, and then I'm going to run outside this window. And we're going to pretend that we're an attacker. I actually need to shoot that window. And we're going to pretend we're an attacker. A really good way of playing Alibi is you see we're the attacker here now. We can't do anything about this Alibi. We can't shoot the base here. We can't shoot the prisma to destroy the Alibi. So what we'd have to do is get up onto rappel maybe and see if we can... we can't rappel, we're a defender. But as an attacker, you could get up onto rappel, go upside down, and maybe you could shoot the base. But what you want to do is you want to make it as difficult as possible for the attacker to shoot the prisma. If we put it here, as an attacker, we can easily shoot the base. But when it comes to deploying it, you want it to be as close as the window as possible, and the attackers can't destroy it so easily at all. So just a quick one when it comes to the basics of destroying the prisma if you're on the attacking side. The only way you can destroy it is by shooting the base, and the hitbox of the base actually slightly goes higher up into the ankles as well. So you will destroy the Alibi prisma if you shoot in this area here. I'll demonstrate. It doesn't look like the base, but it will still destroy. When it comes to destroying it, you've got to shoot the base or slightly above the base. I'd always recommend going for the base. I'm saying base a lot here. There's a sort of joke in England about a buttery biscuit base, but we won't get onto that. But Google buttery biscuit base and you'll see what I mean. So yeah, you really want to be shooting the base. If you shoot anywhere else in the body, it doesn't destroy it, and we'll get on to what happens if you shoot an Alibi prisma as an attacker. Now. Okay then, so we've got our very kind volunteer Nomad here who's going to show us what happens when an attacker gets fooled or tricked by an Alibi prisma. So the first example that we'll show is shooting a prisma and what happens when you shoot a prisma. When you shoot a prisma, the defenders get a ping. You get 5 pings. It lasts over 5 seconds, so it's 1 ping every 5 seconds. It's an active ping every second, so if I just point my... I'm going to try and move away a bit so you can see what I mean. If I take control of Nomad now and we shoot the prisma, you get 1 ping instantly. And then as she moves around the library, you can see it's an active ping every 5 seconds. So 5 total pings showing exactly where she is as she moves around. 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I've missed one. Sorry, I can't count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. I didn't count the initial one, so that's good of me. So that works for a start. Right, how else can you activate the prisma? Attackers can also activate the prisma by walking through it. As you can see there, getting pinged again. We're going to get flashed here, so cover your eyes. But it also happens if you throw a throwable. So that's a frag grenade, smoke grenade, flashbang, new EMP, whatever it is that you throw through the prisma. You also get pinged. Mind your eyes. It's just outrageously bright, isn't it, that? There's no need for that. How else can it happen? It can also... You can melee the prisma. And finally, if you fire any gadgets through it, so if it's going to be, for example, a Nomad air jab, which we're going to show an example of here. If it's anything else like a Zero camera or a Habana X Kairos pellet or an Ace Selma, etc., etc., that also will trigger it as well. So that's how attackers can activate the prisma and what happens when they do. So as you can see, we've swapped to the attacking team here, and I just want to run through something before we get onto the counters. Somebody once told me that once you've shot the Alibi prisma, you're then immune if you shoot it again. That's not the case. The ping refreshes every time you shoot it. So let's just shoot it once. We'll see the ping in the bottom left corner. We're going to get ping 3, 2, 1. If we shoot it again, you see it goes back up to 4. Once that ping's active, every time you shoot it or walk through it, if you walk through all 3 in a row here, it activates every time you walk through all 3. So it's not like you're immune for 5 seconds. It's not like I've shot it once, I might as well shoot it again. Every time you make contact or do what we talked about in the previous section to activate the prisma, you're going to get pinged again. You're not immune for any amount of time. So in terms of counters, there's quite a few, to be honest, and we'll go through as many as we can. We've got Thatcher's EMP, which will disable the prismas entirely for 15 seconds. You can see now you can run over without any ping. And you can see that they're evidently disabled due to the fact that the prisma isn't there. You can see what the base looks like as well now without the prisma on it. One thing I do want to mention is, much like any other throwable, if you throw Thatcher's EMP through the prisma, you're going to get pinged. So just be careful when you're throwing it. Make sure you roll it across the floor. Make sure you don't throw it through the prisma, otherwise you're going to get pinged. So the next counter we're going to look at then is knock, and knock in my opinion is probably the best counter to Alibi. Just a quick tip about knock, which is different to vigil because they both use sort of cloaking devices. When you've got your ability active in the bottom right corner, if you shoot, your ability doesn't go off. When you're playing vigil, which you'll know because you've definitely watched the vigil guide, right? If you haven't, you definitely should. It's probably the best one. Go and watch it. Actually, no, this will be the best one. But if you shoot, as you can see, the cloak's active. We shoot, and it doesn't disable or anything like that like it does with vigil. So, now everybody knows this, by the way, but if you walk through the prisma with knock, obviously you activate it, we get pinged for 5 seconds. However, if you activate knock's cloak, I don't know the technical term for it, but knock's cloaking device, if we activate this and walk through the prisma, we don't activate it. Also, whilst you've got your cloaking ability active, if you shoot an alibi prisma, you don't activate it either. See, we've got the cloaking ability active, we're shooting and walking through it, and we're not tripping it. As soon as that cloak comes off and we shoot, then obviously we get pinged. What doesn't work is if you get pinged once you've shot it and then you activate the cloak, it's too late. So if we shoot and then activate, it's too late. We're already marked. And you can see we're being pinged in the bottom left corner now there. So knock, in my opinion, is probably the best counter. So the next counter we're going to look at is Twitch. And Twitch doesn't do anything on her own, but of course a drone will. Now, a drone will destroy the prismas if you shoot the base of the prisma, like where you can normally shoot them. However, if you shoot the body, you can see that you get pinged as Twitch as well. So you've got to be careful with your Twitch drones that you do ping the base, and exactly where we talked about earlier about where to destroy the prisma. If you shoot the body, you're going to get pinged. Make sure you shoot the base. Again, I'm going to show you another example. I don't know why, because it was pretty clear to begin with, but I ramble on and I'm going to show you another one. Look, we get pinged again. Make sure you shoot the base. That's Twitch. Right then, on to IQ as a counter. And before we get into IQ as a counter, let me just tell you, try this in your next game. IQ, AUG, 1.5, and silencer. It's unreal. The gun is super high damage. It's easy to control. It's just so clean. The fire rate's not too fast. I think it's one of the best feeling guns at the minute with this new silencer meta. So, anyway, countering Alibi, back to the point in hand. When you scan the Alibi prisma with IQ, what's really interesting is it doesn't show the main prisma. It just shows you the base of the prisma down here on the floor, and that's more evident when we go below. So let's just nip downstairs if I can vault here, and we'll show you. So when you scan from below, you can see we just see the prisma base. Oh my word, I've forgotten something. I'm so sorry. Shoot the jukebox. GN. Get out my game. GN. Oh, GN. Jukebox. Easy. Rip. Bozo. Oh, rip. Bozo. That's me speaking in a custom game on my own. It's quite embarrassing, really. Anyway, back to the point at hand. We've got the alibi bases. You can see, we can't see the whole prisma. You just shoot the base from below, making sure you don't hit the floorboards, which I always do when I play IQ. There we go. I mean, that shouldn't really be taking 4 shots, should it? Or 5 shots. I can never get the right angle when I'm shooting IQ from below. Anyway, that's the counter with IQ. Use the AUG 1.5. It's really good. IQ's back in the game, I feel. I think she's strong again. But we'll probably get onto IQ on another video in the not too distant future. Hint, hint. Moving on. Finally, the next counter we'll look at is Glaz. Glaz doesn't have the prismas appear as yellow. You can see they appear as normal, and when we look to the left, Alibi here is yellow. Yes, granted, we're not fooled because Alibi doesn't look anything like the prismas when they're wearing that uniform. But it's just a point of note, when you're playing Glaz, the Alibi prismas don't appear yellow. Only the real Alibi does. The Glaz is a counter to it, although I don't know how much people play Glaz anymore. I think he's actually pretty decent now with the to take frags. He can have a bearing. He's a 3-speed. He's actually a pretty decent op now. Obviously, the more you move with Glaz, the less the yellow glow gets. I think I talked about this in the glass video. So, yeah, anyway, that's the end of it. Prismas don't appear yellow. Players do. And welcome to the first game show here on my YouTube channel where we play Alibi or Prisma. We're going to do the identity parade as we walk from left to right, and you've got to pick which one's Alibi and which one are Prismas. So we're going to start with the left-hand side. Do we think this is Alibi or a Prisma? Next one, Alibi or Prisma? Next one, Alibi or Prisma? Next one, Alibi or Prisma. Right then, any guesses? 1, 2, 3, or 4. Right, I think we can all see which one it is. There's a couple of really obvious ways to find out which one the prisma is and which one the prisma isn't. Firstly, it's glaringly obvious how much Alibi is moving compared to the prismas here, right? You can see that she's moving quite a bit. Just moved the gun up slightly. You can see that she's moving quite a bit compared to the prismas. There's a couple of other things which are distinguishable as well. On the prismas, the goggles are completely like clear, completely opaque, and you can't see through them. You get to Alibi and you can see her eyes. Now, obviously, you're not going to be able to use this much detail to choose at the time. You've just got to look for something quickly. You know when you're playing casual sometimes, and even it happens in ranked at times, you've got someone who lines all three up and stands next to it, and you peek the door here and you go, oh, I mean, even when we're looking this quickly, you can't really tell, right? So it's tough to tell. However, there's a couple of other things as well. So you've got the base in between the legs for the prisma. The goggles are clear, but also the sight on the gun. Most people are going to be running a sight and not iron sights. The prismas run iron sights, and the quality of the prisma model is so much lower than Alibi herself. You can see there's a scope on the gun, a sight on the gun. She's moving. You've got no sort of connection between the feet there, which is where the base is, and the goggles aren't opaque, they're clear so you can see her eyes. So that's an easy way of telling, really. I say easy, you know, like I say again, if we're peeking and we're moving here and we're not standing, it's still difficult to tell when you're wearing the default, and even then you can barely see the one times. I think also, just looking at it from here, you can tell that the three prismas have got a slightly darker texture model on the trousers. You can see Alibi's trousers there are slightly brighter, but again, imagining you peeking the door like this, if I strafe across the door, you got to pick which one. You just wouldn't know, would you? But if you get up close and personal and you want to know, that's how you can tell. Okay, so finally we'll get on to how to use Alibi and sort of where to use Alibi, and there's some really easy answers to this. The first one is anywhere there's a half wall with a common angle that people are going to be holding over, or even the piano here, or just an object in front, place an Alibi behind this object so the base is covered. Oh, excuse me. Like this, the base is covered, so anyone on piano here isn't going to be able to shoot the base, and as it gets peaked, they're going to shoot the Alibi prisma. But make sure if you can that the base is then is protected, so they can't just shoot the base out quickly. Another example here would be half wall, of course, like so. And the other way of doing it is also behind shields. Now, shields are obviously really useful. Alibi gets one herself. A lot of places you can place your shield, and you can place a prism behind there as well. So as you're getting peeked, you think someone's peeking over the top. It's even more believable when you can only see a part of the body. The other thing you can do as well, if you want to get fruity, is once you've got let's use half wall here instead of bolting onto the piano like this. Once someone's shot that prisma once someone's alerted this prisma and is getting pinged, if you're feeling fruity and you're wearing the default skin, you can then take the place of the Alibi prisma, stand up and just do this, and the next time they peek this half wall, they think that it's the prisma that's here, and you ruin the day. The other way is, if you haven't already got an object like the piano, the half wall, or the shield, you can make a line of sight yourself using the bailiff. And we'll use this. This is used quite often here. There's line of sight here to look at K9 door, or Mez door, should I say, or Ego door, or balcony, or whatever. We can put an Alibi prisma, not there, because it won't deploy, just here. And as we come over onto the balcony door now, if we were on the other side of this door, you can see the prisma there, and that's going to alert as well. Probably not in the best place. We could probably do another shot there to widen the line of sight. That's nice. Whilst I'm here, by the way, I found a line of sight the other day that I've never used before, from Solarium onto the Mez balcony, or Fluke balcony, Ego balcony, whatever you want to call it. When you're playing in higher elo, you don't usually reinforce these two walls. This is just turned into a how to play chalet guide, by the way. This gets reinforced, right? I'm not going to do it. And then we make a line of sight across this wall here, like this. From here, now you can hold the balcony. So from here, you can see that's the balcony door there. I've just destroyed... Let me go and put the barricade back up and you'll be able to see it easier. It's probably quicker for me to just run around rather than make a rotate, to be fair. I know we've gone completely off topic here, but I want to show you. I got a kill from here the other day. I was playing Echo. You can put your Echo camera on here and send it up to the ceiling here, and it can't be seen from half wall because of this beam. Yeah, I mean, we digress again. Honestly, if you get me talking about Siege, about different things, I'll be here all night. So, back into Solar. Now we've got the barricade back up on the balcony. You can see there, the balcony door's there. The middle of the X is right there. So you can hold it from here. You can hold that side of the door. You can hold the left-hand side of the door. can hold any side of the door. Just plain and soul is just such a strong position when you've got this open. You can hold the bedroom window, balcony, loads of different places. But anyway, it's an angle I found the other day. I don't know if, I'm sure it's probably common knowledge, but I only found out about it the other day. There you go. I've shared it with you now. Don't say I didn't tell you. So there we have it. That's Alibi. A real strong pick when it comes to roamers at the minute. As I've said before, a gadget is a nightmare to deal with. Bayleaf shotgun can make rotates, open hatches, and open lines of sight, and she's got a shield as well. She's dead strong at the minute. There's no denying it. I say it every video. I'm saying it again. I also stream on Twitch 4 days a week. I only ever play ranked. It's every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 PM UK time. There's been a bunch of people from YouTube come over and it's been quality. So if you're not one of them yet, my name on Twitch is exactly the same as YouTube. Get over there and give it a follow and come and say hello. Do it now. Literally right now. Go. Thank you. Cheers. Other than me peddling my Twitch channel for the 54th time or whatever it is on one of these videos, that wraps us up this time and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.